You're watching the Resort Video Guide, Ocean City's best source of news and entertainment. Coming up this hour, Wayne Cannon featuring local guests, news and information highlighting what's happening this week in Ocean City. Dean Langwell bringing you the lighter side of Ocean City's second season with information on all the wintertime hotspots. Dot Healy with current information, health tips, and an up-to-date calendar of events for Ocean City's senior scene. And Bobby Vermillion, host of the Resort Video Guide Stallion Sports Show. Each week, Bobby and his world-famous co-host, Barry the Stallion Stride, take an in-depth look at the Major League's winners and losers. For the best mix of local news and information, plus an in-depth video tour of Ocean City's best places to wine and dine. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Wayne Cannon. Welcome to another edition of the Resort Video Guide. Coming up in just a couple seconds, we'll be talking with one of America's top artists, Paul McGehee. But first, let me tell you about what's happening Easter weekend. This Easter Sunday, April the 16th, join Pastor Merrill Fisher, the Ocean City Community Choir, and other resort area clergy in the traditional sunrise service held right on the boardwalk at South Division Street. That's in downtown Ocean City. The service begins at 6 a.m. Complimentary coffee is provided by the Ocean City Volunteer Fire Department, Ladies Auxiliary. In the event of pouring rain, the location for the service is under the overhang of the Convention Center on 40th Street, okay? So this Easter Sunday started a new tradition by joining many of Ocean City's local churches in this beautiful service of spirit and song. Paul McGehee, ladies and gentlemen, one of our nation's top artists, most popular artists, is here with us on the Resort Video Guide. How you doing, man?
Oh, great.
We've had you on the radio show a couple times, open mic Bayside, now you're here on the TV. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back in Ocean City.
All right, and you've done quite well in Ocean City. I know a lot of your prints are sold here in Ocean City, at the Ocean Gallery, I believe.
Yes. I've been coming here since I was a child, and upon becoming a professional artist, was just a natural place for me to paint, and it's all just kind of come together. Ocean City loves me as much as I love Ocean City.
Where are you from?
I'm from Arlington, Virginia, and I was born there in 1960. I'm coming up on 35 years old this year, and just been a professional artist since getting out of high school.
What was it about painting or art that turned you on? When did you really start dabbling in it?
When I was about 5 years old, my father paints as a hobby. He's a dentist, and he introduced me to it at a very young age, and it was very much encouraged throughout the school years. I worked on the school paper doing cartoons and such, and just really went into this right out of high school, and it's gone well ever since then.
What artist turned you on? The Impressionist period, or what period of art turned you on?
I love the colors used during the Impressionist period. I also like the representational illustrators that were popular around the turn of the century, people such as Howard Pyle and N.C. Wyeth, Andrew Wyeth's father. And I grew up on books such as Treasure Island and Robin Hood that were illustrated by those people, and would sometimes sit down and try to do my versions of the illustrations in the books. And it basically trained myself how to paint by seeing how other artists worked and seeing if I could duplicate it.
Paul's brand new painting is the Capitol at Moonlight, right? Is that
Yes.
We'll show a picture of it right here.
This is another of my historical scenes. As with most of the 60-some pictures in my catalog, I went back in time a bit. I like doing research on areas that are familiar, but I like giving an old aspect to them. So this new piece, The Capitol by Moonlight, I show Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. as it appeared 90 years ago.
What's happening at that time? I suppose the Congress is still in session, huh?
This was the very close to the second inaugural of President Teddy Roosevelt. And I show a night session of Congress going on, which would have been occurring towards the end of a session. They would have had nighttime votes. The dome of the building I show illuminated as it once was, which is different from the way it is today. They would do that back then only during night sessions of Congress to act as a beacon to draw the congressman back for a vote.
All right. Now, you used new technology to find out exactly what kind of sky was in the air that night, right?
I show some stars and constellations very subtly in Capitol by Moonlight. I wanted to see if I could verify exactly what the southwestern sky on a particular evening in 1905 would look like. I have a computer program that allows me to enter any date in history from any vantage point and come up with where the moon and stars would be. So that's something that I did with Capitol.
Capitol at Moonlight, ladies and gentlemen. Brian, now, if we want to purchase the original, Paul, how much is it going to cost us?
The original is $45,000.
$45,000.
Prints are $200.
All right. Now, prints are $200. All right. They're available at Ocean Gallery. And the original is how big?
The original is 30 inches by 48 inches, so it's 4 feet wide. I work quite large.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk once again with Paul McGehee about some of his popular prints that some of you have. A lot of people around the country are Paul McGehee collectors. We'll be talking about his 2 Ocean City prints that were quite popular, and some of the things he's done in Baltimore and Georgetown and Annapolis. So our guest is Mr. Paul McGehee, one of America's most popular artists. I'm Wayne Cannon. And don't forget, if you want to be on the Resort Video Guide, send us a postcard to the Resort Video Guide, 8301 Coastal Highway, Ocean City, Maryland, 21842. Coming up next week, we'll be talking with the folks from the Lower Shore chapter of the Red Cross, and also folks from the Cancer Society. And maybe the 2 weeks from now, we'll have the exciting Batman right here, all right? Coming up again, another conversation with Paul McGehee. I'm Wayne Cannon, and we'll be right back. Keep it right here on the Resort Video Guide. And we're back. My very special guest, Mr. Paul McGehee. Paul, welcome to the show once again. Of all the prints that you've done, of course, Paul has a catalog here, and you can see everything that he's done. How do they order this catalog, by the way?
The catalog can be obtained by calling 1-800-ART-PRINT.
1-800-ART-PRINT. Your most popular print so far?
It would have to be both of my old Ocean City prints. One of which came out 6 years ago, the other one came out last year. The two of them connect together into a panorama of everything that was here in 1915.
All right. So when you started working on the old Ocean City, you did a lot of research, the first one. Who did you go to? How long does it take to research before you actually put brush to canvas?
The research for the Ocean City pieces took many, many months. A lot of the information is very scattered. Luckily, the Life Saving Museum people, Sue Hurley, they helped out quite a bit, and some of the people around town that happened to have old family photos and stories in their family history that just helped me to flesh out everything that was here back in that beginning era.
Is print number 1, of course, when you make a print, how many prints do you make out of from the original?
Most of my editions are 2,000 prints.
All right.
And the first 300 I will draw remark drawings in the border, and then the remainder will be signed and numbered prints.
Remarks cost more than just the normal prints?
Yes, they are original work done on your print.
Is print number 1 more expensive or more, than print number 2,000? More valuable?
Outside of the fact that it has a remark on it, no, the prints are identical from the beginning of the run to the end.
When you take that original of the old Ocean City or whatever, how do you make prints out of it? Tell us how that process works.
Well, to simplify it, it's photolithography. It's a process beginning with photography and ending up by separating the primary colors out of a picture and then reproducing that onto metal plates that are printed on an enormous $1 million Heidelberg press. And it's a really fascinating process. I'm around for every step of it. And
first couple things may not come out right. You say, well, the color's not right, so...
Definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of the process is computerized now, and I have seen just in the 15 years since I've been printing vast changes in how a print is made, and it's really a fine art now. It's amazing to watch.
Paul McGehee, now you are sold your work all around the nation now, right?
Yes, it has really snowballed into something wonderful in the last few years, especially the Capital by Moonlight, which is proving to be very popular nationwide.
All right. All right. Let's talk a little bit about some of your other. Of course, both of the Ocean City prints were very popular for you, and I've seen work of Annapolis. That's been very popular for you.
One of my favorite subjects, a beautiful town, Baltimore.
The Inner Harbor. You have seemed like a love for the Inner Harbor area there.
Yes, I have shown several scenes in the late 20s, early 30s time period. I happened to like the way the skyline appeared then, with some of the older buildings and the coffee and tea roasting places.
And you told me when you were on the radio show that you had to really research that, because the Inner Harbor now is not the same as it was when you did that painting there.
In the early 1950s, they took out a lot of the steamboat docks along Light Street and introduced landfill. So a portion of where Harbor Place is built in the Inner Harbor is where water used to be at one time. So when I go back in time for one of my paintings, I have to be aware of man-made shifts in the land, aside from what happened with the buildings.
Okay, and Paul McGehee, let me ask you this. What do you like working with? Oils, acrylics? What's your favorite?
I enjoy oils because they are very forgiving. I work at a very slow pace and oftentimes will rework areas that I'm not real fond of. And the oil paint allows me to go back maybe even a month after I painted it and scrape it off and rework it.
All right.
Acrylics do not afford you that luxury.
Years ago, when Michelangelo was working on the Sistine Chapel, the Pope used to say, "Michelangelo, when will there be an end?" He says, "When I'm done." When do you know that when you're finished?
It is just a feeling after putting in 6 or 7 months on one painting that, you know, this is it. It's hard to explain. Just, it comes across you one day that you know it's finished.
All right, and it's like, wow.
Yes.
Huh?
And I'm usually well entrenched into the next project.
What's the next project, real quick? We have 1 minute.
I'm working on recreating the town of Richmond, Virginia, as it was in the 1860s. It's quite a research project and should be out later on in '95.
Paul McGehee, one of our nation's top artists, most popular artists. Paul McGehee, and if you want one of his catalogs, he has one right here. The number you want to call is
1-800-ART-PRINT, and I do have an exhibit up at the Ocean Gallery at Boardwalk and 2nd Street through the summer.
Paul McGehee, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Wayne.
All right. I'm Wayne Cannon here. I want to thank Paul for being with us. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Lower Shore chapter of the Red Cross and also the Cancer Society. And I think we're even going to have, coming up 2 weeks from now, the exciting Batman will be right here on the show. Anyway, I'm Wayne Cannon for Paul McGehee, and we shall see you next week on the Resort Video Guide.
You are watching the Resort Video Guide, Ocean City's best source of news and entertainment.